Angling is a series of choices from an infinite number of options, some simple, like what's your target species, to the complexities of understanding fish location on a seasonal basis. Then there's the myriad of presentation options. It's as mental of a game as physical. Each challenge is different, but the basic process remains the same. For angling is like solving a living, breathing puzzle. And to see the big picture, you need the fishing edge.
Whoa! Look at the size of that thing.
Wow.
Look at the size of that pike. Oh. He came back, Mike. I said before.
There he is. That's a good one.
Much more like it, Mike. Oh, Mike.
Good one.
Yeah.
Whoa, another fish, Al. A little bit better, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
A little bit better. Boy, doing this, you never really know what you're going to get, do you?
Got it. Okay, sir.
Yeah, not bad.
Wow. Look at that baby, huh? Holy mackerel. Whoa. This is definitely one heck of a way to catch big fish. Gosh, that's a giant. That is a giant. You get to throw in these soft baits at this time of the year, which is a peak time to catch big everything in these weeds on soft bait. Big walleyes, big smallmouth, big northerns. Could get lucky and catch a muskie. If you've never done this before, geared up heavy enough to get after these big suckers, and give this a try, you're missing the boat. It's big fish fishing at its best. Woo!
It's early October, and there's so much to do in so little time. You know, duck hunting season just opened, grouse season's in full swing, and the best part is, fishing's at peak and the fish are on the chew.
This is my absolute favorite time of the year to be on the water. Give me 1 month out of the year, a 30-day window, it's the month of October. Why? Big fish and lots of them. You know, they know in our part of the world here, not too long from now, it's gonna mean hard water. And that means they gotta bulk up. Everything goes on a feed right now. It's trophy time. And that means time for me to be out on the water while everybody else is chasing stuff in the woods. I don't have that bad habit. My whole bad habit is fishing. You know, these smallmouth, they're gonna shut down a little bit, but the pike, the walleyes, they bite all the time. In fact, there's a lot of good bites that happen under the ice. But this transition period, going from cool water to hard water, they really chew, baby. Oh, got it. Good fish, Mike.
All right.
No, it's a big walleye, I think. Oh yeah, nice walleye. Nice walleye.
Want a net on this one?
Yeah, yeah, you better get it net. It's not a giant, but it's not a bad one. Good way to get rolling. Yeah, I'll take her.
Yeah,
Huh?
not bad.
I got her. Hang on, oh, take that net back. Let's get her up.
Yep.
Get that hook out of her. Oh, there. Get that jig head out. There you go. You know, certain times of the year, there's certain types of presentations or family of baits that work on a particular body of water. And it's sometimes a short-lived thing. It's rare to find any body of water that you can have a certain presentation that is getting a bunch of different fish, like, let's say, walleyes, let's say, bass, let's say, northern pike, and if you're lucky, a muskie, all in the same places at the same time on the same style of bait. Doesn't happen too often. Mike and I are on one of those bites that can be incredible every single year. We experienced it many times. And is it ever fun? You know, this presentation that we're talking about now, ripping weeds with these big soft baits, you could do this other times of the season and catch some fish. But this bite where you'll have multi-species up in the weeds and being big fish, in this case we're talking northern smallmouth walleye. If we get lucky on this lake, you could hit a muskie. And I know some of you guys are thinking, what about largemouth bass? Well, this presentation is not a largemouth bass presentation at this time. If for every largemouth you could catch doing what we're doing in a situation like this, I could catch 10 fishing them a different way. But that isn't the case for the walleyes in the weeds, these big smallmouth are the northern. But this presentation right now shines when that water starts getting around 60-ish, give or take a little bit. That's where this thing shines.
There's one. Yep. Not bad.
What color is it?
I can't tell. I'm gonna say it's brown, but it's digging pretty good. Yep, it's
Big brownie?
one of those bass things.
Oh, good one?
Yeah, not a
Medium
oh,
one. Oh!
He decided he didn't want to stay
He
hooked.
didn't like to
but
stay in, or
Yeah.
did he?
At least he showed himself.
Yeah.
He showed he liked the plastics.
Yeah.
That's a good sign.
You know, when you fish these fish in the weeds like this, that strike zone of those fish, no matter what it is kind of small. You really got to get on the right angle of that fish, depending on how those weeds are bent over and laid over and the kind of weeds you're in. So, I mean, when you get bit like we did here, walleye, smallmouth, northern, missed one, boom, 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 it's worth going back through, and you can come, you know, every cast is a slightly different angle. You know, so those aren't the only few fish in there. There's definitely more fish in there. So, yeah, you know, particularly in cover, it's so important to get the right angle. That strike zone is shrunk down to how that fish is sitting in there. As long as you know they're there, it's worth, you know, 2, 3, 4 passes. I'm going to turn around and go back. We got some water to fish up yet, but I mean, we had 2 hookups there and 1 strike. And there's some fish laying in there. You get into these weed beds like this and start ripping these big baits through there, you know, you get a little of anything, and that's what you look for this time of the year. What we like to do with these baits is find a good clean cabbage weed areas and just start ripping. You know, and there's one pattern that works for big fish. There's on this lake, like a lot of these lakes, there's smallmouth going in deep water, areas on rocks already. A lot of the deep water walleyes are starting to stage up pretty good. You know, water start turning down. The fish that have been suspended are starting to get on structure. But there's a lot of these big fish in weeds. And throwing big plastic is the way to go. When you get bit doing this, the fish is always a big fish. It's always good fish. Oh, it feels like a walleye. Oh, it's a big brownie. Oh man, Mike. Look at that. Look at the size of that sucker.
That's a giant.
Oh man.
Wow.
Wow. I thought for a second it was one of the big old walleyes, and then all of a sudden that line came up, you know, and look what I got here. Hang on. Let me get a nice easy lip lock on you. Those smallmouths don't ever want to quit pulling. Look at the size of that thing, huh? Oh man. You know, that's one thing about this late season bite, and it's not really late yet. It's just starting, trees are turning, you know, water's in and around 58 to 62, depending on where you're at. You know, everything is starting to cool down, and everything in a lake knows that winter isn't too far around the corner up here in the North Country. And whether it's brown bass, big walleyes, in a lot of cases big northern pike, and even muskies, big baits is the way to go. When picking a jig to fish in the weeds, there's 4 things to look for. For me, the BMC boxer jig fits the bill. It has an eye forward placement to slip through the weeds, a bait keeper to secure the soft bait when ripping through cover, a large enough gap of the hook for a good hooking percentage, and it comes in a 1/2 ounce size. Perfect for the size of soft baits we're using. My top two choices are the 4.5-inch Trigger X paddle tail minnow and the 5-inch minnow. Experiment with bright to natural colors. Let the fish tell you what they want. Got him, Mike.
Another one.
Yeah,
Wow.
I can't tell what this is. It's a better fish. Maybe a big piker. Look at that. I got really lucky on that one.
Need a pliers?
There, I think I got her.
All right.
I got her. Oh, open your mouth, critter. He wants, look at that. He wants that thing, huh? Nice proportionate one, not a whopper by a long shot, but, you know, pretty decent fish. Smallmouth, walleye, pike. I know that one that I got bit off on, I'm sure it was a muskie. It had to be, right? Big one, 45-incher. You got a leader on, Mike?
I got a
You
leader.
got that Terminator leader on?
Yep, I'm running wire.
There's times I really believe if they're active, it won't make no difference. But if the fish are really touchy, I'm throwing fluorocarbon, Suffolk's 100% fluorocarbon. I'm using a bait casting rod and reel, one of our new Quantum Angling Edge Technique series rods with an energy reel. You know, you can fish like this with a spinning rod if that's your choice. A beefier, heavier spinning rod you might like to fish. You know, braid like a Suffolk's 832, something like that. I'm throwing fluorocarbon, Mike's throwing fluorocarbon. I'm bait casting right now.
Specific weeds we're fishing have two things in common that we think are holding these fish. One, the wind's blowing into them real good, and the other thing is that we're seeing pods of bait fish just off the edge of them where the weed edge drops off. So the combination of wind and bait is what's keeping these fish in the weeds. Oh, there we go.
There you go.
Boy, I just saw a mark and I dropped it back down, and oh, big
brownie,
smallmouth.
Yeah.
That's more like it,
That's
Al.
much more like it, Mike.
Oh. Boy, you're just doing this, you never really know what you're gonna get, do you? Another nice smallmouth, boy. Yeah, you just never know what you're gonna get.
Yeah. Feels like a big eyeball is what it feels like. Like about a 6-pound eye, Mike.
Ooh.
That's what I think it is. I don't think it's a big pike. It felt like a big, oh yeah, big eyeball, man. I put a leader on and I went to my leader rod. Boy, you see the size. I gotta look at this baby as it's going. Look at that.
Ooh. What a tank, huh? Ah. Nice fish, Al.
Look at this. When do you see this sucker? Look at the size of that fish. Wow. Wow. Now this one's porked out pretty good, Mike. Look at that.
That one's been eating.
They love this stuff. Ain't that a nice fish, huh? I put the leader on because I got bit off 1, 2, 3. We came down this weed bed once, five bite offs. I was getting a little tired of that, so I went to the leader, and most of the time, you know, in that cover, you're okay.
Yeah,
Nice
that
fish,
tieable
boy.
titanium is.
Yeah, that's that tieable titanium a leader material. It's really quite incredible. It's almost invisible when you look at it. Real easy to handle. It doesn't kink up or anything. You know, you fish toothy critters. You know, that's the stuff you got to have. That was fun.
Now, if you look at the graph right now, you can see there's a big ball of bait on there, and what Al and I are fishing, these breaks, it seems like the best breaks that are holding the most fish have these big wads of bait that butt right up to the weed line. You can see where it goes from like 18 to 13 feet. We start getting into the weeds, and all of a sudden the bait just touches those weed line. That's where seems like the most active fish are. Oh, wow, where'd he come from? Another fish, Al.
Color. Oh, nice.
A
Big walleye?
a nice walleye.
Yeah. Nice one, Mike. Oh, man. Holy smokes. Let me get a net on that.
Every
Boy, that's a big fish he's got there.
Every jig it's a different country heard from.
Oh, yeah. Here's no bub. Nice one, man. There you go.
All right, nice one, Al. A walleye this time. You know, how many times can you go out on a lake and fish the same structure with the same cover using the same bait and catch multiple species of fish? Well, this is one of those times that Al and I are fishing.
Oh, Mike.
Good one.
Yeah, feels good. Oh, nice walleye, nice walleye. Whoa.
try you here.
Yeah.
We better net this devil.
Oh yeah, nice fish again.
Ready?
Hang on, get her in there.
There we go. Nice
Okay,
fish,
hang
Al.
on, baby. Good fish. Yes. Hang on, Mike, let me get her.
Yep.
Put a lock on her. Look at that. Huh? Look at that. This is so much fun. You know, in a typical day like this, I don't want you to think that you're going to go and just take these big plastics and get up in these weeds and catch fish all day long. It definitely is not a numbers game. It's a big fish game. Bigger than average fish, whether it's pike, smallmouth, bass, walleyes, the bigger fish will get on this thing, not necessarily the numbers. And in a typical day in an afternoon like we do, oftentimes we'll leave the office, we'll run out and fish for 4 hours. Or on a weekend, you go poke around for 4 hours, a couple guys out on the water, and you'll catch 4, 5, 6 walleyes. You'll catch 4, 5, 6 smallmouth, 4, 5, 6 pike. Add it up, 2 guys ripping weeds for that kind of bite. That's pretty good fishing, isn't it?
Fishing these baits like we are, you know, one day you can come out and you need to pop them or snap them a little bit, and other days you do better when you just kind of swim them and ease them through the weeds. It all depends on the mood of the fish. But
good point.
you know, you just got to feel it out as you're fishing. If you're just reeling and swimming through and not getting much, then you might want to start popping like that when you hook a fish.
I like that, Mike. Ooh, brown bass,
Oh,
big brownie, baby. Oh, right in my walleye hole. Oh.
He came unbuttoned right at the boat. But
Why? Why?
I don't know. How do you lose them on
a big brownie?
How do you lose them on a jig? Yeah. Well, that was a good point. I mean, I had thrown that bait out. I felt it touch the weeds. I gave it a couple pops off the weeds, and then there it was. So you just got to mix your retrieves up depending on the day, figure out what the mood of the fish is, and you will figure it out. And I marked a couple fish, and instead of casting out, I decided to drop down to see if I could get one to pop it right under the boat here before we move on. A lot of times these fish that are hanging right off the edge of the weed line, you can drop your jig on them and they'll nail it. There's one right there. That didn't take too long, did it? Not another bad bass. A little bit better, yeah.
Oh yeah.
A little bit better.
Well, you're whacking them.
Yeah, the minnow.
Right off of that
the
weed
minnow
edge,
shape.
man.
Yep. Yep. Watching the electronics when you're chunking weeds often pays off. Got a rebait here. They tore it up.
These weed beds like this, I'd love to be able to take a shocker, you know, like the DNR uses, and run these whole beds like this and see how many fish are actually in there. I think you'd actually be amazed. And the thing that amazes me is we are the only ones on this massive lake that are doing this right now. All of the rest of these boats are out here. They're fishing walleyes on deep rocks predominantly. Nobody's coming up in the shallow stuff. They're all staying in that. Right now on this lake, there's a whole lot of people fishing 18 to 25 feet of water.
That is a big one. That's more like it. Wow. Kind of a notch bigger than those other ones, that's for sure. All right. Look at the size of that guy. You know, in the fall when the leaves start turning and the water starts cooling down, there's never a better time to throw big plastics for big fish of all kinds. This one unhooked and gone.
I want to take a moment to read you an article that was on the front page of my hometown paper, the Brainerd Dispatch. And the lead article was titled, Overcoming Addiction. And it's a story about this young girl sharing her a testimony about her battle with drugs all her life, and how she came to Teen Challenge and the impact Teen Challenge has had on her life. But I want to give you just a little quote of a testimony that was written in a paper that I found really moving. I decided to run to the foot of the cross. I went to church and sat on the floor in the back, and I totally lost it. I didn't have anywhere to go. I closed my eyes and saw Jesus walking to me. In my vision, I had black filth in the palms of my hands, and he looked at me and wiped my palms clean, and then it turned to sparkles, and my palms were clean. Then Jesus put treasures in my hand, and I looked at them and threw them at his feet. I asked, what does this mean? Then I looked down and saw my Bible open on the floor to Isaiah 45:3. The verse reads, I will give you hidden treasures, riches stored in secret places, so that you may know that I am the Lord, the God of Israel, who summons you by name. That was it. I was going through the darkness. I was doing it right, and the Lord was telling me that I would be rewarded. It was a big turning point. I turned to God instead of using. That night, I knew that I could do this. My vision ended with Jesus holding my hands. I went to my parents' house a few days later. If you've ever been to a Teen Challenge event and heard the testimonies of many of the young men or older men and women that have dealt with a lot of issues in their life, that they'll touch your heart. This is just one of many examples. But I really found it interesting that my hometown paper put it on the front page as a lead article. Do you think you'd ever see uplifting articles like this in, let's say, the cover of the New York Times or the LA Times? I highly doubt it. Although these testimonies on how God has impacted people's lives are a regular basis happening all over this country. These are good news stories that you rarely hear or rarely see. I had to share that with you. Hey, from all of us here at The Edge, you have a good, safe fishing season. We'll see you in the water.